chair of the program, Dr. Ajmal Moin, our chief guest of today, Karmashil Bhagat, students, teachers, and all others assembled here. Today we are celebrating our 72nd Republic Day. And in this occasion, I would like to welcome each and everybody to the function. Department of History of MAM College. MAM College is one of the important reputed institution in Kerala, which was established in 1885, and it is run under Muka Muslim Orphanage, one of the important orphanage of Kerala that work for catering the need of the poor and orphans. Muka Muslim Orphanage runs a number of institutions, and the prime institution among them is MAM College, which is an accredited college with A grade. Today we are here to celebrate our Republic Day. We have a dignified guest with us, Mr. Karmashil Bhagat. He is assistant professor in Sharda University, who is teaching law. But he is a versatile genius. He is a multi-faced genius. He has completed his LLM and LLB, and he has completed the post-graduation diploma in finance planning and relation management. He also has a diploma in banking, diploma in human rights, diploma in corporate laws, diploma in human rights, etc. So I'm deeply delighted to welcome the chief guest, Karmashil Bhagat, to this program. Now I would like to welcome our chair of the program, Dr. Ajmal Moin, who is the IQAC coordinator of our college. And we are also happy to have an IQAC coordinator from our department. Welcome, sir. Now, I would like to welcome each and every one who assembled here, from faculty, members of the teachers, and all other staff members of the college. And at last, but not least, I would like to welcome the students who are the lifeblood of the college and lifeblood of our department. It's your presence that become all the programs a great success. So welcome all once again. Welcome all to the function. Now I would like to invite Dr. Ajmal Moin to chair the function. Thank you.
Hello, good morning. Good morning, and I'd like to everyone very happy in Republic Day today. And I'm not going to take your time much more, as we have a very good guest who was an assistant professor of law and was completed his LLM and many other graduation and other degrees. So our college, as well as the listeners, were delighted with an eminent person who will talk about the constitutional values and role of media, which is a very vital area also. First of all, I'd like to welcome everyone, those who are joining with us from our college as well as from many other colleges and other institutions. There are many who were very happy to see many faces who are very, and I is also delighted. as well as the constitution uh, in trouble. As actually, our nation itself is in a trouble in many ways. I'm not going to make a political statement today, even though being facing huge problems.
Ajmal sir, your audio is not clear. Ajmal sir, audio is not clear.
Okay, okay. Just a moment, just a moment. I'll clear. Is it okay now?
Okay, okay.
Maybe.
Okay, proceed.
Okay. So I'm not going into detail. So the topic that we are going to discuss today is about constitutional values and role of media. Actually, we are living in a democratic country where constitution is the basic pillar. Than that of this pillar, media have an important role to make constitution visible, and also it will be feel for us. So I'm not today we have Karmashil Bhagat, who is an eminent person. He will discuss about. He's also a lawyer, also I think, a professor as well as a lawyer. So I'd like to welcome Mr. Karmashil Bhagat to interact with our student on this auspicious day. Thank you. Please, Karmashil.
Thank you very much, sir. Respected chair of today's program, Dr. Ajmal Moin, sir. Respected faculty members of Department of History of Mamu College, Mukkam. Respected dignitaries, other dignitaries, and my dear student. First of all, I would like to wish you a very happy Republic Day. It is 72nd Republic Day. And on the occasion of this Republic Day, we are here. We all are gathered here with the help of this technology. And otherwise, it would not have been possible to interact with you all people. And let me tell you very frankly that I am very pleased to interact with you today. Because as I was told about this college, the institution, your esteemed institution, I have searched a bit about it, and I see a very good work this institution is doing. It is also NAC accredited college. It has received the A grade from NAC as well. Apart from that, basically this program is organized by the Department of History. And law and history, you see, they go hand in hand. So today, I would like to talk about the constitutional values, the role of media, and I will try to explain you how the role of media is very important and how or why we say it as the backbone of the democracy. So, to begin with, I would like to read out some text of the preamble of our Indian Constitution. I shall begin with, we the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, and to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic, and political, liberty of thoughts, expression, belief, faith, and worship, equality of status and opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. So this is the preamble of our Constitution. I will be discussing the importance of preamble of the Constitution in my today's talk. And I really, let me tell you very frankly that I have been called here on very short notice. So I will try my best to explain you the role of media and the constitutional value and how they are interlinked, interconnected. I'll try my best. So I would like to quote here a statement by the father of Indian Constitution, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. I would like to begin with his statement. Constitution is not mere a lawyer's document. So he said that Constitution is not mere a lawyer's document. It is a vehicle of life. And its spirit is always a spirit of age. So if we go through his statement, the Constitution, as we see, it is not merely a lawyer's document. So it is not a document for lawyer to, to fight their cases, to establish their cases, to frame the contention, to argue the things or to understand the things. But it is a way of life. We should inculcate the values enshrined in our Constitution in our life. So that is what he wanted to say over there. Now, today is 72nd Republic Day of India. First of all, I would like to tell you why this is called as the Republic Day. It was the day, 26 January 1950, when our Indian Constitution had come into effect by replacing the Government of India Act 1935 as the main governing document. So before the Constitution of India, there was the Government of India Act 1935, which was the main governing document. And as soon as the Constitution of India come into effect, it had given birth to a republic. And that is why we celebrate this day as the Republic Day. Now, you may wonder, what is the meaning of republic? So, if I want to explain you the actual meaning of republic, republic is a state. State means here the country, where the supreme power is the people. That means it is governed by the people, where there is no monarch. That means there is no king or queen, but the leader who is elected by the people. So, where the supreme power of people, or the people have the supreme power, right? That is called as the republic. Now you understand what is the value of people of India in our republic. As per the definition, the people of India, they have the supreme power. Sorry. Now, I will tell you something about the Constitution before going directly into the constitutional values. What are the values enshrined in the Indian Constitution? So when the Indian Constitution was drafted, and when it had come into effect on 26 Jan 1950, earlier it had 395 articles, 22 parts, and 12 schedules. Now, 8 schedules, sorry. Now, at present, it has almost 470 articles, 25 parts, and 12 schedules. So, we don't have enough time to discuss everything given in the Indian Constitution. And that is why I will utilize this opportunity, this time allotted to me, to focus mainly on two things. The first is Part 3 of the Indian Constitution, that is fundamental rights, and the preamble of Indian Constitution. That is the preface of this Constitution. The preamble is the preface of Indian Constitution. So I will mainly focus on these two things of Indian Constitution: fundamental rights given in Part 3 of the Indian Constitution, as well as the preamble of Indian Constitution. And then I will try to connect the values enshrined in this Indian Constitution and the role of media today. As we are witnessing various incidents, unfortunately, somewhere the media trial is going on, some, sort of character assassination also we have witnessed in these media trials and all. So let us see what is the role of media and how the role of media is important to protect the constitutional value. So let me start with the first part, that is fundamental rights. That is Part 3 of Indian Constitution. So if I talk about Part 3 of the Indian Constitution, Article 12 to Article 35. Article 12 to Article 35 talks about the fundamental rights. And these fundamental rights, if I want to broadly categorize these fundamental rights, sorry, those rights are right to equality, equality before law, right to freedom, freedom of speech and expression, profession, right against exploitation. So any sort of exploitation is prohibited. So equality, freedom, right against exploitation, right to life and liberty, right to conserve and profess. That means you have every right to conserve your language, your ethnic values, your culture, and to profess any religion you want. And the last, the right to constitutional remedies. So whenever these rights are being violated, you will always have the right to approach the court for the appropriate remedy. So this broad categorization of fundamental rights, right to equality, freedom, right against exploitation, right to life, constitutional remedies, and the right to conserve and profess. So these are the basic human rights. If you see, all these rights are so much essential to lead a dignified life. And let me tell you that if you exclude these rights, a dignified human life we cannot live. To lead a dignified human life, these basic rights are very much essential. These can also be considered as the basic human rights, which are very much essential to lead a dignified human life. So these are the fundamental rights enshrined in Part 3 of the Constitution of India. Now, I won't be discussing all of them here, but our focus will be mainly on one fundamental right that is given under Article 19, Clause 1, Subclause A. That is freedom of speech and expression. Why I wish to focus on this one right, that is the right to freedom of speech and expression, because it is very much interlinked with the role of media. and it is the most important and essential right, without which, if a human, as a human, we are not able to express ourselves, you can consider what will be the value of us, or we, what will be the value of people when they are not able to express themselves, right? And that is why I want to focus only on this one right today, as far as the fundamental rights are concerned. Article 19(1)(a) talks about freedom of speech and expression. Now, this freedom of speech and expression is such an important right, that various Supreme Court judgments also talked about it. They have also stated or laid down the importance of this fundamental right, right to speech and expression, in the various judgments. I will cite you 3 or 4 judgments of Supreme Court of India, as well as one international judgment as well by the European Court of Human Rights, so that you will come to know the actual value and importance of this particular fundamental right that is given under Article 19(1)(a), which is called as the right to freedom of speech and expression. Right. So, sorry. In the cases, I would like to cite you 3 or 4 cases here, and I'll make sure that I won't be talking too much, technical things, because I'm not interacting with the law students. I'm very well aware of that, right? So I will try to simplify these things as much as I could. Here, the first 2 cases are Ramesh Thapar versus State and Brij Bhushan versus State. In these cases, these cases were related or during the era of partition, after the era of partition. Some newspapers, some publications wanted to publish the pictures of atrocities took place during the partition of India, right? We all are aware about the incidents those happened during the partitions, because you all are the history students. You must be very well aware of with those incidents. So some atrocities, unfortunately, took place at the time of partition, right? That publication houses wanted to publish those pictures of the atrocities, but the government said that we will scrutinize the publication. The government said you will have to take the permission from us before publishing anything. The publication houses challenged this order of the government. The court said that right to freedom of speech and expression is the fundamental right, and it is very much essential and important right. No one can curtail that right. The publication houses can publish anything they want. No one can curtail their right. But at the same time, they should take precautions. Whatever they publish, it should not, hamper the peace and integrity of the country. So somehow the court said that they have to maintain the balance between their fundamental right of freedom of speech and expression, as well as the integrity and safety as well as peace of the state. But in this judgment, the court has emphasized solely on solely upon the value of freedom of speech and expression. Court said that the freedom of speech and expression, the right to freedom and speech of expression cannot be curtailed. No one can take away that right. The publication houses have every right to express their views through their publications. So in these cases, the court has emphasized upon the importance of freedom of speech and expression. The next case I want to discuss is Maneka Gandhi versus Union of India case. It is a very popular case. In this case, the court clearly said that the right to freedom and speech of expression is the fourth pillar of democracy. The right to freedom of speech and expression was considered as the fourth pillar of democracy. This is the second case. In a case of European Court of Human Rights, the case name is Handyside versus United Kingdom. The European Court has explained that, I quote, a democratic society is one that can withstand all the expression and welcome all information and all ideas, including those that offend, shock, or disturb the state or any sector of the population. Here, the European Court of Human Rights, while emphasizing the importance of freedom of speech and expression, has said that a democratic state shall withstand every consequence that may follow by the expression and giving out the information. So, at any cost, if we want to take the gist of this, the European Court has said that at any cost, the freedom of speech and expression shall not be curtailed. In the case of the last case I want to discuss here, Indian Express newspaper versus Union of India. Indian Express newspaper versus Union of India. In this case, the court said that freedom of speech and expression under Article 19(1)(a), that is the article of Constitution, under Article 19(1)(a), includes right to know the correct information. It includes right to know the correct information. If people have the correct information, it becomes important for public participation in decision making. People can keep checks and balances on abuse of power by the administration. So, in this case of Indian Express newspaper versus Union of India, the court went further. The court said that the right to freedom of speech and expression does not only include the right to express your views, the right to put forward your views, but also it includes the right to know the correct information. Right to know the correct information is very important, because it will help the people in the decision making, in public participation, right? Because if you see the system, if you see a republic, how do we take the decision? How do we participate in decision making? we elect the representative. How can we elect the representative without the correct information? And that is why to receive the correct information is also a part of fundamental right. That is right to freedom of speech and expression. And it is very much important. So in this case, the court went further and said that right to receive the correct information is also a part of fundamental right. So we, the people of India, have every right to receive the correct information. In the book of the System of Freedom of Expression, this is the book by Thomas Emerson, The System of Freedom of Expression. He has explained the importance of freedom of speech and expression. The first thing he has said that freedom of speech is important as a mean of assuring individual self-fulfillment. So freedom of speech is a mean of assuring individual self-fulfillment as an essential process for advancing knowledge and discovering the truth. Freedom of speech is the essential process advancing knowledge and discovering the truth. Here, it also includes, that means how one can discover the truth and advance the knowledge by receiving the correct information. Third, as essential to provide for participation in decision making by all members of the society. So it is very much essential for decision making by all members of the society. We are talking about the freedom of speech. So freedom of speech is not only important to express your views, but also important to gather and collect the right information, correct information, which information can be used further for decision making through the public participation in every republic. Fourth thing he has mentioned as a method of achieving more adaptable and hence more stable community. So according to him, ultimately, freedom of speech will lead to achieve the more adaptable and more advanced or stable community. So the freedom of speech can lead to build a more advanced as well as more adaptable, more stable community. This is the importance of freedom of speech and expression, which is enshrined in Part 3 of the Indian Constitution under Article 19(1)(a). Now, with the help of these few cases and the book by the Thomas Emerson, I hope you understand the importance of freedom of speech and expression. How much freedom of speech and expression is important for a republic or in a republic for the people. And without this right, how helpless the people will be, and ultimately how disastrous the system would be. Now, the second part that I wanted to discuss in this session about the Constitution, is preamble of Indian Constitution. Plato, a great jurist and scholar, in his book, The Laws, he has mentioned that every statute means every act, statute is act. Every statute must have preface, which declares the reason for its existence. So, according to Plato, every statute, every act must have the preface, which declares the reason for its existence. Here, the preamble is the preface to Indian Constitution, which declares the values enshrined in the Indian Constitution, which characterize, which sum up by reading the preamble of India. That is why in the beginning, I started the session by reading the text of preamble of Indian Constitution. By reading the preamble of Indian Constitution, one can, get the idea what is enshrined in the Constitution. Now, that is why the preamble of the Constitution is so much important. And that is why I discuss the crux of the preamble here with all of you. If we want to divide, the preamble, we can divide the preamble into three parts. The first part is declaratory part. In this declaratory part, some sort of declaration is there. Declaration given in the preamble. The declaration says that it defines the ultimate sovereignty, and ultimate sovereignty rests with the people. Because preamble starts with we the people of India. We the people of India. So who is the ultimate sovereign? Ultimate sovereign are the people, not any president, prime minister, or the government, or any monarch. The ultimate sovereign here, as far as the Indian Constitution is concerned, the ultimate sovereign are the people. This is the declaratory part. The second part is resolutionary part. In this resolutionary part, we resolve India into sovereign, socialist, secular, and democratic republic. We resolve India. We means we, the people of India, resolve India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. This is the resolutionary part. Just try to understand the importance of preamble. The preamble itself, it says that the sovereignty, the resolutionary thing, everything rests in the people of India. This is the importance of people in republic. This is the importance of we the people of India in our country, in our democracy, in our republic. The third part is promissory part. We promise ourselves that through our institution, we secure ourselves justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity. So we the people of India, have established the institutions to secure ourselves justice, equality, liberty, justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity. So this is our preamble. And the preamble says or lays down that people of India are the supreme sovereign. And that is why the people of India shall be well informed, well aware. Now, if we connect these two things, the sovereignty or the supremacy of people of India as given in the preamble of India, and the fundamental rights given in the Constitution, freedom of speech and expression, which includes right to gather, right to collect, right to know the correct information. Until and unless the people of India gather, collect, know the correct information, how the people of India can participate in decision making? How the people of India can secure for themselves justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity? How the people of India can resolve India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. If the people of India do not receive the correct information, which is their right under Article 19(1)(a), freedom of speech and expression, which is their fundamental right. If the people of India do not receive the correct information, how they can build the country or the nation, how India can prosper, how India can develop, how the people of India can prosper as a nation if they do not receive the correct information. Right? Now we can connect two things, the preamble and the fundamental right, which is freedom of speech and expression. How important this right is. But ultimately, now the question, where can we find the information? In a democracy, in a republic, where can we find the information? The information can be gathered, or information can be spread out, can be collected through the freedom of press, right? Through the freedom of press. The media has right of freedom of press. So, media are responsible to spread the correct information. That is the only source, or that is the major source the people of India have to collect, to gather the correct information. If the correct information is not spread out, or not received, or not delivered by the media, then how the people of India can make the correct decision? So ultimately, if the correct information is not received, then it may be disastrous for the people of India, and ultimately for India as a republic, for our country. Hence, the role of media in preserving the constitutional values enshrined here in Indian Constitution is very much important, and that is why it is considered, it is called as the backbone of the democracy. That is why it is so much important, because right information is very much crucial. What is democracy? Democracy is all about debating the bills in the parliament, then presenting the bill, debating the bills, and then criticizing the bill. And ultimately, we will come up with good resolutions. How can we debate? How can we criticize the bills if we do not have the right representatives to do it on our behalf? Because we all cannot sit in the parliament and debate. What we do, we elect our representative, they debate the bills, they debate the resolution, they debate the things for us, they take the decision for us over there, because we have elected them to do so. And how can we elect them? How can we elect the government? What is the basis we have to elect a government? How would we know about the agenda? How would we know about the manifesto of the government or the party? That can be known only through the information we receive. Where do we receive the information? We receive the information from media. And that is why here I think you must, you know, be able to connect the dots now. The relationship between the constitutional values and the role of media. It is the duty of media to empower the people of India, we the people of India, with correct information so that we the people of India can preserve the constitutional values enshrined in the constitution. Right? The role of youth is very much important here. I will just take 2-3 minutes more, and then I will finish my talk. I will tell you 2 or 3 things more. The first thing, as the student of history, you must be knowing what was the situation, what was our financial situation in 1991, which forced us to accept the LPG, liberalization, privatization and globalization policy. And if you see the condition in 2002, right? So merely it is a period of 10 to 11 years. So from a very poor condition to comparatively healthy financial condition, it is a period of 10 years or 11 years, because Sensex was touching 20,000 in 2002 and also we can consider it as a comparatively healthy situation. So the financial situation can change within a period of 10 years, 12 years, 15 years. But if you see the document like Constitution, which is given to us by the people of India, how much time it would take to gather those values again if they are being hampered. So it is our duty, as India is a young country, because 50% of the Indian population is below the age of 25 and 2/3 population is below the age of 35. So as the youth of India, it is our responsibility to preserve those values, to protect those values. Because the Constitution is like an ocean, the ocean of compassion, where all the people who are in distress, who are suffering, will take refuge. If you are an ocean, the river will flow towards you. If you are the ocean of compassion, the oppressed will be attracted towards you. If you are an ocean of knowledge, the seekers will be attracted towards you. The same way, the Constitution of India is the ocean of compassion. It is the ocean of integrity and unity of people of India. And hence, it is very much important to preserve those values enshrined in the Indian Constitution. And it is the responsibility of we, the youth of India now, we, the people of India overall. But the more responsibility is on the youth, because India is comparatively a young country. And if any misinformation, any such misinformation spread out by the media is hampering the decision making of the people of India, then I would consider it as the direct attack on the unity and integrity of India. So I hope I could, make you understand the importance, of Indian Constitution in our day-to-day lives, the importance of values enshrined in Indian Constitution in our day-to-day life. What is the connection between the Constitution as the guiding principle and the media as the fourth pillar of the Indian democracy. I would like to thank you, Dr. Ajmal Moin sir, for giving me this opportunity by inviting me here. I really love to interact with the student of Department of History of Mammo College. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Bhagat, for joining with us in this beautiful day and to interact with our students on a very important area. And it was also insightful to go through our constitution and our system, democratic system, in a well-structured manner within a small span of time. And first of all, I'd like to convey my that it was very short time we have contacted with you.
Yes,
And within this short span of time, you have prepared well and presented the matter in a very beautiful manner for our students. We are not well aware of the law, especially the deeps of the law.
yes,
Anyway,
sir. I tried
thank
to
you.
keep it very simple. That is why.
Yeah, it was very simple actually.
Yeah.
It was very simple and authentic. That is it. And I would like also happy with joining with you and this beautiful moment. And OM sir, Abdurrahman sir, what is next? What about Anis sir? Is he here?
I think he is not connected here or something.
Sometimes you always have some technical issues by which. So I just forgot to tell about Sweta Singh. It's also your
Yes.
colleague. She has
Yes,
given
sir.
opportunity to contact with this beautiful person. So, OM sir, let us wind up the session, right? As it is 1 hour. So, is there any questions from your student side?
Sir, actually, there is one session by 11:30. I have to join
Okay.
that, so I'll have to leave.
Okay. So
Yeah.
let us wind up here. OM sir,
Yes,
let us wind up.
Okay.
Just
I
continue.
think,
I'm really sorry for that. I would really love to
It's
take the
okay.
questions from
It's
students.
okay.
okay, sir. We will utilize you another occasion. Okay. Right.
Sure, sir.
So, respected chief guest, Kamarshil Bhagat, Dr. Ajmal Moin, all other dignitaries and students gathered here. It was really a nice presentation, a simple presentation without deviating from the main topic. We know role of media plays an important point in our democracy, in our republic. Bhagat presented the topic in a authentic way, as pointed out by Ajmal sir. We are so happy to listen your presentation. I would like to thank you. I am deeply delighted to thank you for spending your valuable time with us. A deep thanks from the heart for the whole staff and students of the college, Bhagat sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.